I'll never forget that Wednesday morning, 10:15 a.m. on the dot, when my marriage ended without me even realizing it. I was standing in our sunny Florida kitchen, still in my robe, waiting for the coffee to brew. Linda had left her phone on the counter again. I picked it up just to check the weather, like I'd done 100 times before. That's when Mike's message popped up. "Can't wait to see you today. Your lips tasted like strawberries last time." My stomach dropped like I'd missed a step going downstairs. Mike Thompson, my fishing buddy for 20 years, the guy who stood as best man at our wedding. I shouldn't have looked further, but my fingers moved on their own. 3 months of messages. Flirty jokes I hadn't heard from Linda in years. Hotel room numbers. Photos she'd never sent me. The kind she used to blush at when we were dating. The coffee maker gurgled loudly in the sudden silence. Outside, our neighbor's lawnmower buzzed like nothing was wrong. 18 years of marriage. 2 kids. Sophia just starting high school. Jake away at his freshman year at college. The retirement home we'd bought last summer after finally paying off the mortgage. All of it crumbling because of a single text message. I sat at the kitchen table until 2:30 p.m., watching the digital clock on the microwave tick away the minutes until Linda's dentist appointment would be over. When I heard her key in the door, my hands were shaking. She walked in smelling like that expensive salon shampoo, the one she only used for special occasions. Her sundress swayed as she kicked off her sandals. "Everything okay, honey?" she asked, car keys jingling in her hand. I just held up her phone, watched her perfect manicure tremble as she took it. "John, I can explain—" But there was no explanation that could fix this, just tears. Just the same old lies about it meaning nothing and just one mistake. Her hands reached for me, but her wedding band, the one I'd saved 6 months to buy back in '99, felt cold against my skin. I forgave her that day. For the kids, for the neighbors who'd see moving trucks. Because at 54, with my bad knee and thinning hair, I couldn't picture starting over. Because when she hugged me, I could still smell Mike's cologne on her. Now, years later, I realized that Wednesday wasn't the end of our marriage. It was the day I handed her permission to break me again. 2 years later, I'd find the hotel receipt in her gym bag. 4 years after that, her suspicious work trips with the new department head. But it all started at 10:17 a.m. on an ordinary Wednesday, when I just wanted to know if I should water the lawn before the afternoon heat set in. The last normal moment before I became the kind of man who checks his wife's phone on purpose. The months after the text message passed in a strange, quiet haze. Linda and I became experts at pretending. We hosted Thanksgiving dinner like always, me carving the turkey, her making that sweet potato casserole the kids loved. When Mike's name came up in conversation at the table, I watched Linda's hand freeze for just a second before reaching for her wine glass. I started noticing things I'd ignored before. The way she'd angle her phone away when texting, the sudden book club meetings that ran late, the new underwear appearing in her drawer, lacy things she knew I preferred, but that never seemed to make it onto her body for me. My morning routine changed. I'd wake at 6:30 a.m. sharp, listening for the soft click of Linda's phone unlocking in bed beside me. I memorized the pattern of her breathing when she was actually asleep versus when she was pretending. The medicine cabinet became my confessional. I'd stare at my reflection while brushing my teeth, wondering when I'd become this suspicious, hollowed-out version of myself. The golf clubs I'd bought for retirement gathered dust in the garage. Instead, I developed a habit of driving past Linda's office at odd hours. One rainy Thursday at 4:45 p.m., I saw her laughing under an umbrella with a coworker, some young guy from accounting, her hand on his arm, that same playful tilt of her head she used to have with me. I sat in my car with the wipers going, watching until my coffee went cold. Our bed became a battleground of unspoken rules. She'd curl on her side, I'd stick to mine. The space between us grew until it felt like we were sleeping in different time zones. Sometimes in the dark, I'd imagine confronting her again. But then I'd remember Sophia's volleyball games, Jake's graduation coming up, the way our friends still called us the perfect couple at barbecues. The strangest part? From the outside, our marriage looked better than ever. We took a cruise for our 20th anniversary, all smiling photos and sunset cocktails. Linda posted every moment on Facebook. I started drinking more rum than I used to. By the time we celebrated Jake's college graduation, I realized something terrifying. I didn't miss the wife I'd lost. I missed the man I'd been before that Wednesday morning, the one who trusted, the one who didn't keep mental lists of inconsistencies, the one who could look at his wedding ring and feel something besides a dull weight. I found it on a Sunday morning while searching for our old photo albums. The box was shoved deep in the walk-in closet behind Linda's winter coats, one of those decorative storage containers meant for scarves or keepsakes, the kind you'd never suspect of hiding secrets. My hands shook as I lifted the lid. Ticket stubs from movies I knew we hadn't seen together. A hotel keycard from the Ritz-Carlton dated last Valentine's Day, when Linda had claimed she was visiting her sick sister in Tampa. A man's silver cufflink engraved with initials that weren't mine. Each item landed in my gut like a punch. At the bottom lay a folded piece of stationery. The handwriting was unmistakably Linda's, but the words belonged to a stranger. Next time, let's go somewhere warm. Just us. No more hiding. The date at the top was 3 days after our anniversary dinner. I sat on the closet floor for what felt like hours, the carpet fibers digging into my knees. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, catching the dust motes floating between Linda's neatly hung dresses. Everything smelled like her vanilla perfume and mothballs. That's when I noticed the pattern. The box itself matched a set we'd received as a wedding gift. There were 3 others just like it in our attic, filled with baby clothes and old love letters. She'd hidden this one in plain sight, counting on me never to look, counting on me to keep being the trusting fool she married. I took photos of everything with my phone before carefully replacing each item. My hands moved mechanically, the way they had when I'd reassembled Jake's toys after he'd broken them as a child, pretending everything could be fixed if you just followed the steps. That night at dinner, Linda talked about her yoga class while I studied the curve of her neck, the way she absently twisted her wedding ring when lying. I nodded along, chewing food that tasted like ash. The box still sat in the closet. The cufflink still gleamed in its hiding place. And I had become a ghost in my own home, haunting the spaces between Linda's lies. The box in the closet became my compass. Every morning at 6:15 a.m., while Linda showered, I would check its contents like some pathetic ritual. The items multiplied slowly. A cocktail napkin with a lipstick stain that wasn't Linda's shade. A receipt for diamond earrings I'd never seen her wear. Each new addition was another thread pulled from the fraying fabric of our marriage. I started keeping my own records in a yellow legal pad locked in my office desk. Dates, times, locations. The handwriting looked foreign to me, precise and clinical, like a detective building a case against his own life. Some nights I'd pour myself 2 fingers of bourbon and study the pages under the green glow of my desk lamp, tracing the timeline of my own betrayal. Linda must have sensed the shift. She began cooking my favorite meals, meatloaf on Wednesdays, pancakes on Sunday mornings. The gestures felt like apologies she couldn't voice. Her perfume grew heavier, as if she could mask the scent of deceit with Chanel No. 5. She touched my shoulder when passing, her fingers lingering just a second too long, testing the waters of my forgiveness. The breaking point came on a humid August evening. I was cleaning out the garage when I found her old laptop buried under Christmas decorations. The battery was dead, but something compelled me to charge it. When it booted up, there they were, years of emails to some guy named David from her accounting firm. Love letters disguised as casual correspondence, filled with inside jokes and future plans. The most recent was dated 3 days prior. That night I lay awake watching the digital clock tick from 1:17 a.m. to 3:42 a.m., Linda sleeping soundly beside me. The AC hummed, the ceiling fan circled endlessly, and I realized with sudden clarity that I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. The kind of tired that seeps into your bones and makes even breathing feel like work. In the morning, I made coffee as usual. When Linda came downstairs, I handed her a cup the way I had for 23 years. But this time, I didn't mention the new scratch on her car. Didn't ask about the late meeting she'd mentioned last night. Just sipped my coffee and watched the steam rise between us like a curtain falling on the final act. The first frost came early that November. I woke at 5:30 a.m. to find the lawn glittering under a thin white crust, the same way my father's whiskey tumbler used to frost over during winter nights. The thermostat read 62 degrees, but the chill I felt went deeper than temperature. Linda's side of the bed was empty, the sheets still tucked with military precision. She'd taken to rising before dawn lately, claiming insomnia. I knew better. The glow of her phone screen often lit our bedroom at odd hours, her fingers moving rapidly in the dark like she was composing symphonies of deception. Downstairs, I found her coat missing from the rack. Her car was gone too. The digital clock on the microwave blinked 6:17 a.m. in cheerful red numbers. I poured coffee that I didn't drink and watched through the kitchen window as the rising sun turned the frost to dew. At 7:45 a.m., Linda's Lexus pulled into the driveway. She entered through the garage, cheeks flushed from the cold, humming some pop song I didn't recognize. When she saw me at the table, her smile faltered for half a second before snapping back into place. "Morning," she chirped, dropping her keys in the bowl by the door. "You're up early." I studied her. The unfamiliar scarf knotted around her neck, the way her boots left damp prints on the tile. There was a freshness to her movements, a lightness that hadn't been there in years. She looked alive in a way our marriage hadn't made her feel in a long time. The truth settled over me like the frost outside, crystalline and undeniable. I wasn't losing her. She'd been gone for years. The woman standing in my kitchen was just a friendly stranger wearing my wife's face. I stood, carried my untouched coffee to the sink, and poured it down the drain. The liquid swirled clockwise before disappearing, just like the last 23 years of my life. That afternoon, I called a real estate agent. Not the one who'd sold us this house, but a young guy with sharp eyes who wouldn't ask uncomfortable questions. As I walked through our empty living room, I realized something peculiar. The walls already looked bare to me, the furniture like artifacts from someone else's life. The hardest part wasn't deciding to leave. It was realizing how long I'd already been gone.